Welcome. I'm Barbara Gahn-Mueller. You are listening to peacepodcast.org. And this is 106th interview with a peace builder on our planet who has a message for you. We have something in common. Mike Caruso, welcome. I just want to say thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And then I want to tell you, if you look at our backdrops, what do you see? You see Rotary Wheel, because this is Mike started the Rotary Peacebuilder Clubs in 2011, and we're going to hear the story of how and why. And then I am the chair of the Rotary Action Group for Peace, which is the umbrella organization for the Rotary Peacebuilder Clubs. Rotary Peacebuilder Clubs, what a noble goal to have peace on our planet. Do you know we have over 46,000 Rotary Clubs? And so if we work together for peace, think of what we can do. And so without further ado, because I want this whole conversation to be focused on Michael Caruso, we all call him Mike. He's a past district governor. He joined the Newburgh Rotary Club in 2001. And guess who was his sponsor? His precious daughter, Amelia, because she was a Rotarian first. And sometimes you get into Rotary Clubs through your family, through your friends. But he was the founder of the Rotary Peacebuilder Clubs, as I said, and this started in 2011. And we're going to find out today why and how and what we can do. He served as a district governor in District 5100 during the 11 and 12 Rotary year. That was quite a year for you, Mike. I mean, 2011 seems like you started Peacebuilder Clubs. You were a district governor. I'm excited. And so 11 years as District Rotary Peace Fellowships, subcommittee director. Think about it. He's a Rotarian through and through. And he didn't even start until 2001, and we're in 2023 now. You know, there's so much he has done. He has received awards for what he has done. He is the recipient of the Rotary International Service Above Self Award, as well as a citation for Meritorious Service. Those are beautiful awards. They're very hard to come by. They don't happen just because you want them. They happen because you are working for peace on the planet. You're doing more than just attending a Rotary Club meeting. You're making the world a better place because of your actions. And so with that, I'm going to invite Mike. And again, he comes from a business background. He worked in the business. And what business were you in, Mike?
Wholesale produce, fresh fruits and vegetables, distributing to grocery stores and restaurants.
And you know we count on him to bring the freshest fruits and vegetables. He retired from that lofty position, and that was when he became really involved with Rotary. So let's start today, Mike. I have a question for you. Tell us a little bit about your story. You know, stories are what people remember. You became a Rotarian, you had 5 children, lots of grandchildren. And what is it that makes you tick? What do you think you bring to the world?
Well, I think it's influenced by a lot of really wonderful people. I studied for the Roman Catholic priesthood for my high school years and the first year of college. And finishing college, I went into the Peace Corps, served in Malaysia in tuberculosis control. 3 years, primarily with Aborigines of that country, and came out and went into the family business, and then retired. I was looking for something, and Rotary kind of made its discovery to me.
Yeah, I didn't know you were in the Peace Corps.
Yeah.
You know, all the people who I have on my board who are returning Peace Corps volunteers, they are the most gentle, wonderful people. And I don't know why the Peace Corps makes you so compassionate and so passionate about peace. What do you think that did for you?
I think it just makes you aware of the larger community and the fact that this global community, which looks at times so vast and challenging, is actually quite small. Especially now with the technology we have, we can speak to people, 10,000 miles away, and just like they're sitting in next to you in the room.
So beautiful when you think about it. We are a global community. We're a family. My late husband, Robert Mueller, always said, if we could just treat each other like a family, this world wouldn't have wars. You don't shoot your brother because he's upset or you're upset. You have a conversation. So, Mike, I'm going to go back to the early beginnings of the Peacebuilder Clubs. What motivated you to start them?
Well, actually, it's because we became a Peace Builder district, and the Peace Builder district is simply a financial commitment that the district makes to the Rotary Peace Centers and the Rotary Peace Fellow Program, because Rotary pays 100% of their fellowship costs. They pay for the travel, they pay for the room and board, tuition, and programs which the Peace Fellows do during that time. And we became a Peace Builder district in 2011. And so we went around and talked to the various clubs explaining what this meant. And at the end of one of the meetings, some Rotarians came up and they said, well, since we're a Peace Builder district, we be Peace Builder Clubs. And we discussed among the leadership. I was just getting started in my year as district governor. So I talked to past governors and directors, and nobody had heard anything. They went to Evanston, and no one in Evanston had ever been broached with the question. So they said, well, go ahead, start your Peace Builder Clubs, and we'll let you know if you do anything out of line. So they were kind of going to be monitoring us. So we started with 11 clubs that year in our district. The main purpose, since it became out of the idea of Peace Builder District, was to support the Rotary Peace Fellows program. And we could do this in two ways: either support financially, send money to Evanston to support the Rotary Peace Centers, or sponsor a candidate, find an applicant who might be interested in getting a master's degree or certificate in peace and conflict resolution. So this started out either or both ways to support them. And then we brought in the idea of peace projects, partnering with other organizations, possibly Kiwanis or Lions Club or whatever, or any local organizations on a peace project. And also we went out and educated members, Rotary Club members in our district, about Rotary's history of peace. And it's a very impressive history I found out through my research of it. And so the more this happened, the more comfortable I felt with Rotary. We started with the help of the Rotary Peace Centers. We developed a brochure on Peace Builder Clubs. We brought this to the international conventions and distributed it with the help of the booth that the Rotary Peace Fellows had. So we did this, and we started doing it in various languages over the years. We started in 2011. I think it was in 2014, we started getting responses from other districts. District 7610 in Virginia sent me an email saying they were going to have a conference and roll out Peace Builder Clubs, and invited me back to that. District 5240, I believe that's your own district. I think it was the second district outside of our own to start Peace Builder Clubs. I believe they have 24 Peace Builder Clubs, if I'm not mistaken. The Seattle district has about 10 Peace Builder Clubs, and it kept growing and had a lot of support from the Rotary Action Group for Peace. And then in 2018, they rolled out the Peace Builder Club program, and it took on a whole new life and a whole new increase in membership. Today, I believe we have over 400 Peace Builder Clubs around the world. So
well, you know what that tells me? This Peace Builder Club idea, time had come. His time, her time had come. And when the time is right, things just happen. What was the magic that made these Peace Builder Clubs grow so quickly in 12 years?
I think just the communication, meeting new members, meeting other Rotarians with the same interest from various parts of the country, from various parts of the world. And Rotary's interest or Rotary's emphasis on peace really, I believe, started growing. 2013, I believe it was, Rotary rolled out the areas of focus. And one of those areas of focus is peace and conflict resolution. And they've changed that to peace and conflict prevention now, which I think is a much more applicable name for it. But yes, Rotary leadership has just been wonderful in this. I think they have seen or felt that peace has been a big part of Rotary. Paul Harris was such a huge promoter of peace over the years, and that's the reason the peace centers got started to honor him.
So interesting, because I've always felt now, they did a miracle when in 1988, and they started to eradicate polio by going around the world and providing the Salk vaccine. I think that was a miracle, and look what they accomplished. And so I always said, now I know that you believe in peace, each Rotary Club, but why don't we make peace our priority just the way we made polio our priority? And I remember in 2015 reading the cover of the Rotarian magazine, and it said, "Goodbye, adios, glad to see you go." And they were saying goodbye to polio. And I want the same thing to happen to war. Goodbye, war. We have learned to settle our disputes by compromise and by conversation. We have learned that each of us count, and we heard you. So it's goodbye, war. I would love to see that in 2023. Mike Antonio Guterres, I am also part of the United Nations Association, said, let's make 2023 a year of peace and no more wars. And I thought, why not? Now, where's Rotary on that scale of peace and no more wars? What's it going to take to get Rotary to be that beacon of hope and peace that we know we want today?
Well, I think two particular areas that'll take a bold leadership from the top, which we have had with the leadership of Rotary International and the directors and the trustees. And they started the Rotary Peace Centers in 2002. This was an amazing program, really. They were at one point looking at Paul Harris University to honor him in the field of peace. And then they found out that there are already, at the time, there were about 40 universities around the world that had postgraduate degrees in peace and conflict resolution. And that was when they started the Peace Centers. Today, there's over 400 universities with offering postgraduate degrees in peace and conflict resolution. So we were right on the cutting edge. And I remember, when Rotary came out in 1987 with the Polio Plus program, people kind of snickered, said, well, no, this, and
Sure.
Back then there were 360,000 plus cases a year. And over the years, we have made progress. In 2021, there were a total of 6 cases of wild polio virus in the world. So we are very, very close to eradicating it from the face of the earth. And people kind of snicker and sneer in the same way when we talk about Rotary and the peace movement and how Rotary is getting very, very involved in that. But persistence, not only from the top down, from also from at the club level, where even the leaders of Rotary say that all of the really strong programs come about from the club level. So we need a coordination and a partnership from both ends, top to bottom, bottom to top.
It's very interesting because polio, I grew up right in the midst of when Salk invented the polio vaccine. No, I don't think so. I think the polio, I don't even know the year polio vaccine was invented. All I remember about Dr. Salk is he said, I am not going to patent this because I want this world to be free of polio. And that was his goal, be free of polio. And that's why my goal with the Rotary Action Group for Peace and the Peacebuilder Clubs is to be free of all wars. And they snickered when they said, oh, let's get rid of polio. No way are we going to get all these countries and all these people. And then all of a sudden, it was a vision that drew us, a vision of no more polio that drew us into the action that we needed to complete that vision. Right, Mike?
That's correct. And it's just that the vision has been, I think it's quite clear, and it's getting more clear every day. The people we talk to, the people we meet, and it's just having a focus. I think it's great that they called it the areas of focus. peace and conflict resolution, women and children care, disease prevention, education, community development. It's just, they all fit so well and they all feed into peace.
It's so true. We have 7 areas of focus, the latest one being the environment. And my late husband, Robert Mueller, who was the Assistant Secretary General, said, we have to stop our war with the environment. We can't expect the environment to support us all the rest of our lives if we keep destroying it. And so that was so beautiful, the way you said our 7 areas of focus. And the beauty of that, you just said, it's peace, the time has come. And I'm hearing it from more people. And so what is your goal, your outcome? What is your cherished outcome? That's how I put it, from all these Peacebuilder clubs. What can we do to further our vision for peace on planet Earth?
Well, I think we need to still get ourselves more educated. You know, as I was reading back in the history of Rotary and peace and how it evolved, I found out that in 1942, in the February article of the Rotarian magazine, there was an article written for the Rotarian by Mahatma Gandhi. And in the preface to the article, the editor gave a warning. He said, probably few readers will agree with his views. And it's just very clear what he was saying. He starts off with, if you need a measure of flour to live on, and your neighbor needs a half a measure of flour to live on, both should be awarded that amount. We need to live together. And with the environment, we're finding that the planet has limited resources. And it's just so clear today. The article is when he wrote it 81 years ago. And the message I got out of it is we basically need to live more simply, that others may simply live. We need to learn how to share. And in our culture, the way we've grown up, especially in the American culture, that is really difficult to come to grips with, the fact that I don't need all of these fancy cars and TVs and all the technology that we have. I mean, it's wonderful to have the technology, but to learn to talk to our neighbors in our community, in our county, in our state, across our country, and now with the technology we have across the world, to share our ideas, to share the wonderful lessons that people like Gandhi gave us. And the Peacebuilder Clubs, I think through their leadership, can make this happen. The multitude of projects that there are, peace villages, peace scholarship programs, police to peace. I think the working to emphasize compassion, empathy, and fairness in our police departments. In Portland, we had a program put together by a couple of Peacebuilder clubs during the riots when after George Floyd was murdered. They brought together the mayor, the chiefs of police, the attorney general, and people leading the protests. They had a whole cross section of the people talking together, learning from each other. Another program called Free Bikes for Kids gives thousands of bicycles to people like the Shriners Hospital kids, people coming out of serious disabilities. There's just so many, promotions for the International Day of Peace.
Which is September 21. And I think it's a day that we should really focus on peace and make peace a priority. Isn't that a good model? Make peace a priority. When we had our first Peacebuilder Club meeting, and Mike was one of the facilitators, we kept saying, you have to have that vision of peace. You have to work for peace. As Eleanor Roosevelt said, it's not enough just to think about peace. You have to work for peace. And that's why I love the Peacebuilder Clubs. They work for peace.
Yeah, and also to realize that we are still in Rotary's in the infancy of its peace building program. I mean, we have 400 Peacebuilder Clubs. That's great. But as you mentioned, we have 46,000 Rotary Clubs. So we've got, I guess the world is our oyster, so to speak.
Isn't that beautiful? I love your optimism, and I love that what I've been hearing from you today is a platform to build this vision on. We have a platform in Rotary. We know everybody in Rotary that I know wants peace. And so we just haven't had that platform. And so today I crown our platform the Mike Caruso Platform for Peace, and so it shall be. And why not, Mike?
Well, I think there's a lot of other people who would deserve that much more than myself.
Oh, I don't know about that. Again, I've done a lot of talks in my life, and I always talk to Rotary Clubs. Even when I was in Budapest, I would talk to Rotary Clubs wherever I was, because I knew they always had that motto, service above self. And self to me is working for a world that works for all, that nobody has to go to bed hungry, et cetera, et cetera. And if you look at the human rights that Eleanor Roosevelt got accomplished, you look and see that what really is one of the human rights, and this one's a big one, a safe place to live, safety. I've always felt that if children felt safe, we'd have a different world. And so, we all have our own philosophy, but that's why I love Rotary. We can bring our ideas and our dreams together and have a whole club that supports us.
That's exactly correct. That's what we're working for, to get the club and, like I say, to educate and communicate. I think those are the two best things we can do.
I agree. And there's one other thing that I've been telling people. Have a peace moment in your club. Every meeting, just start with, today we're going to ask Barbara Mueller, or today we're going to ask Mike, what have you done for peace? And then you have a whole minute to tell us. And then we honor you for that, rather than where you went last week on a vacation. I want to bring peace into our clubs. And I started something really simple when a little girl said to me, "Oh, Mrs. Mueller, you're so busy and you're so wonderful, and I'm just a little girl. What can I do?" And this was at a Montessori school. And I said, look behind you. And the whole group of 400 kids turned around. And on the wall was this big word, peace. And I said, why don't we start peace corners? Have a peace corner in every home. A corner where you remember the word peace is going to happen in this lifetime. Well, now we have thousands of peace corners, and they're just a little plaque that says Peace Corner. It's nothing big deal. Just like the peace polls. How many peace polls have you seen in your life, Mike?
Wow. Well, since we started the program in 2017, actually, with the help and assistance and encouragement of Al Jubitz, we planted over 500 in our district, well over 1,000 in the country since 2017, and it's growing, and it's really starting to get some more traction. They're working on a QR code to put on the peace polls to help teach people about the history of the Peace Bowl and also about Rotary Clubs.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah, that's beautiful. Oh my gosh, that is so beautiful. And so you hear from this wonderful guest today, Mike Caruso, that peace is possible, and it begins with each of us, with our thoughts and our vision. And as we were driven to places of war to get that vaccine out there, our vision was stronger than the opposition to getting it out there. So when you have that vision, keep it clear and think, I'm thinking about peace almost every minute of the day. And I think, what can I do to further peace? Now, there's so much wisdom in this podcast today with Mike Caruso. I'm going to invite you to invite 3 friends together and sit down and watch this podcast. When you are done, I'd have a conversation. What did you learn from Mike? What were the cherished outcomes of this podcast? What can we all do to further peace in our communities, in our clubs? And maybe if you have never been to a Rotary Club, find somebody who's a Rotarian and ask them to invite you to a meeting. We love to have new guests. And so Rotary, to me, is a vehicle that we're going to work tirelessly for to end war in 2023. That's a very special year. My birthday's 3/23. And so I look at 2023 and I think, wow, what a year we can bring peace. And the other thing I'm an international city of peace. I created that with Santa Barbara, and I'm 323 for International Cities of Peace. Check it out on your internet. Maybe your city can be an international city of peace. It's a grassroots movement. Just keep peace on your mind. And there's the last thing I want to say. The Rotary wheel. If you look up in my corner and you look in Mike's corner, you see the Rotary wheel. What happened when the wheel was invented? The history of the world changed. We were able to be mobile. We were able to move. That's what I see in the Rotary wheel. We have that potential. We have invented the Rotary wheel to take us into the future for peace. And with that, Mike, do you have a last word? Do you have a dream, a goal, something you want everybody to remember?
Just that we're all working together toward the same goal, and it's possible. Anything is possible when people put their minds to it.
They always say the impossible becomes possible when you see the vision ahead of you. And I see a world that works for us, and I see the borders disappearing as we begin to bring peace to our planet. And with that, I say thank you for joining us. Thank you for giving us a half hour of your time. Thank you, Mike, for being a very informed and intelligent guest. My goodness, is Rotary lucky to have you. Without Mike, we never would have started the Peacebuilder Clubs. So, what can you do today and tomorrow to bring the vision of peace into its full potential and the reality it deserves? And with that, thank you. I'll see you next week. Thank you. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
My pleasure. And again, peace is possible. And thank you for joining us.